Okay, so we've all heard of Chernobyl, right? That name alone, it just gives you chills. It's like the poster child for disaster. But what if I told you that the biggest, most world-changing disasters were the ones they deliberately hid from you? What if Chernobyl is just the one they couldn't hide? The one that was so big, it just burst out into the open. So let's get into it, because the reality here, it is so much wilder and frankly more terrifying than you probably think. This whole idea of a government cover-up, it's not some new thing. It's actually a system, a playbook really, that was built and perfected over the entire 20th century. It really kicked off with stuff like wartime censorship. I mean, during the 1918 Spanish flu, they were straight up hiding the real number of deaths from everybody. Then you had corporations and governments teaming up to just minimize these horrific industrial disasters, like what happened at Gauley Bridge. But oh man, World War II and the Cold War, that's when they put this whole thing on steroids. Suddenly, national security became this magic phrase. It was like a blank check to hide anything, to classify anything, to lie about anything they thought was too messy for us regular folks to know about. And the biggest excuse of all? The atom bomb. And once they had that power to just make things disappear, well, that's when the real catastrophes started piling up, each one buried under this mountain of official lies. And here's the crazy part. When you line them all up, you see it's not just a bunch of random accidents. There's a pattern here, a really disturbing one. Okay, check this out. We're in 1966. A US B-52 bomber crashes, right? And it drops count 'em, four hydrogen bombs on a tiny village in Spain called Palomares. Two of the bombs actually break open and spill deadly plutonium all over the local farms. So what's the official story? Everything's fine, nothing to see here. To prove it, they literally flew in soldiers just to get their picture taken swimming in the ocean. Like, see? It's totally safe. All while, in secret, a massive cleanup operation was desperately trying to scoop up all that radioactive material. Or get this one. Go back a bit to 1957. There's a huge fire at a top-secret nuclear weapons plant called Rocky Flats, right outside of Denver. And it unleashes this cloud of plutonium. And what are the people of Denver told? Absolutely nothing. Crickets. The truth? The truth doesn't come out until 1989, 32 years later, and only because the FBI raided the place. Can you imagine living in a city that was secretly dusted with plutonium and no one told you for over 3 decades? And look, this wasn't just an American thing, not at all. Jump to 1979 in the Soviet Union. A biological weapons lab, which, by the way, was totally illegal under international treaties, it accidentally vents weaponized anthrax all over the city of Sverdlovsk. And for more than 10 years, what was the official cause of death for the hundreds of people who died? Oh, it was just some bad meat from the market. Tainted meat. That was their cover story. The truth? It didn't come out until after the Soviet Union fell. So, these cover-ups, they're not just about saving face or political embarrassment. No. Hiding the truth, it has a real price, a devastating human cost. I just want you to read this quote. Really let it sink in. So here's the context. From 46 to 58, the U.S. detonates 67 nuclear bombs in the Marshall Islands. One of the tests goes terribly wrong and blankets several inhabited islands with radioactive fallout. And the American scientists, they didn't see it as a tragedy. They saw it as an opportunity. Declassified documents showed they treated the Marshallese people like human lab rats, studying them for decades to see what radiation does to a human body, all without ever getting their consent or even telling them the truth. And this same horrible pattern, you see it again and again all over the world. In the Soviet Union, near the Mayak nuclear facility, entire villages were just evacuated. No explanation given. Meanwhile, the people in the next town over just kept drinking poison water for decades, completely unaware. In the UK, after a fire at their Windscale nuclear plant, the government told the public they were destroying milk just as a precaution. But what they were really doing was classifying all the data about the huge risk of thyroid cancer. And in Bhopal, India, after the chemical leak, doctors were begging for information on the specific chemicals involved so they could treat people. But they were denied that crucial info, which meant more people suffered and died. But if you want to see just how big these lies can get, you have to look at Chernobyl. The official story, the one backed by the UN, puts the death toll at around 4,000. But then you have this massive study published by the New York Academy of Sciences. They analyzed tons of health records from across the region, and their estimate? Almost 1 million people. 985,000. Just think about that difference. That's not a rounding error. That's an entire generation of suffering, hidden behind an official number. But here's the thing. Even against these massive, powerful systems of secrecy, there were always heroes. People who decided the truth was worth risking absolutely everything for. Take Valery Legasov. He was the top scientist sent in to clean up Chernobyl. He was there. He saw it all up close. The lies, the corner cutting, the complete failure of the system. So 2 years after the explosion, on the exact anniversary, he ended his own life. But not before. Not before he recorded a whole series of secret tapes telling the full, unvarnished truth about why Chernobyl really happened. Those tapes, released after his death, just blew the whole Soviet cover-up wide open. And then you have the story of Karen Silkwood. This one reads like a thriller movie. She was a regular worker at a plutonium plant down in Oklahoma, and she was a union activist. She saw all these insane safety violations happening and was absolutely horrified. So she started gathering evidence, hard proof, documents that showed the company was faking its safety records to save money. So by November 1974, she's got a whole folder full of damning evidence. She sets up a meeting with a big-time journalist from the New York Times, ready to hand it all over. But she never made it to that meeting. On her way there, her car suddenly runs off the road. She was killed in the crash. And that folder of documents? It was gone, vanished, never seen again. Now, the official ruling was that it was an accident. They said she probably fell asleep. But here's the thing. An independent expert who looked at the wreck found fresh dents on her rear bumper. Dents that suggested another car had rammed her from behind and forced her off the road. So you have to ask yourself, was it really an accident? Or was she silenced? I mean, what do you believe happened here? Okay, so these stories are incredibly dark, I know. But here's the twist. The legacy of all these lies isn't just about tragedy. It's actually a story about progress. Because every single one of these cover-ups, once it was exposed, it created so much public outrage that it forced the system to change, to open up. Yeah, you can literally map it out. It's a clear pattern. Step 1, a terrible disaster happens, and the people in charge try to hide it. Step 2, a whistleblower or a journalist gets the story out there. The secret is exposed. Step 3, the public finds out and, understandably, gets furious. And that anger, that public pressure, it forces politicians to act. They create new laws designed to make sure something like that can never be hidden again. Laws that give us, the public, the right to know what's going on. So many of the laws we take for granted today exist only because of these tragedies. The Freedom of Information Act in the US, it got its teeth because of this kind of government secrecy. You know those international rules that say a country has to report a nuclear accident immediately? That's a direct result of Chernobyl. Those right-to-know laws that make a factory down the street tell you what dangerous chemicals they have on site, that comes straight out of the nightmare of Bohol. These laws, they are the legacy. They were paid for by the people who suffered and by the brave souls who fought to get the truth out. But here's the catch. They're only pieces of paper unless we use them, unless we keep asking questions and demanding answers. Which, of course, leads to the big, unsettling question, doesn't it? After all this, what secrets are they keeping from us right now?